Welcome back to your Life by Design podcast. So, this episode, it's funny, I just pressed record because I was inspired to record this today, and I haven't really given too much thought of it other than I know what I want to talk about. I did a reel on Instagram probably, I think it was like a week ago from this recording, and it's probably one of my highest viewed reels, and I'm not putting reels out to see what goes viral, but because it's what my highest, like at the time of recording, it's been over 15,000 views. It's been shared multiple times. It's just people resonate with the message is basically my point. And so I want to do a whole episode about it. So this reel inspired this episode. And so I'm going to probably call this episode something along the lines of what you are giving acceptance to, or what are you giving acceptance to? Because we are walking around with this perception of ourselves, and a lot of it is based on what other people think of us that we have like agreed with or gave acceptance to. So before I get into this, let me give you an example, and this is what I included in the reel. So a week ago, my son and I, who's 9, we were playing just catch in the living room, and it was before school. We had 10 minutes, so he was just throwing the ball back. We were going back and forth. And I missed one time, and he called me a wimp, which I think is funny because that's not really what a wimp is, if you think about it. And he clearly heard that word somewhere at school because we don't use that language in our house. So he heard it somewhere, maybe he heard it on TV or whatever. And he said, you're a wimp. And I said to him, I'm like, I don't receive that. I don't accept that. And he looked at me, because I didn't get upset with him. That's all I said. And he looked at me, his eyebrow raised, and he kind of tilted his head a little way. And the look was as if to say, wait, you have a choice? Because he's in school, he's in 3rd grade. Kids are not nice to each other, especially in that particular class. It's a big class, lots of just kids' feelings and opinions. And so he's been called names. I'm sure he's done his, share of that as well as he's trying to figure things out. And he was surprised that I said, I don't receive that. And when he gave me that look, it was an opportunity for me to have this conversation with him. Like, you don't have to receive, if someone's calling you a name, you don't have to receive it. You don't have to accept it. You have a choice with it. And we just had this conversation about it. And then went on back to playing catch, and then I dropped him off at school. And I've been referencing that a lot. So if I pick him up from school and he says, so-and-so called me, whatever name, I would say, well, did you accept it? And it's starting to, what my intention is teaching him he has control over what he accepts for himself. And this is a whole episode of this podcast. You have control over what you accept for yourself, what you accept, that when people are saying something about you, what you accept to be true about yourself. And the reason why this is important, especially, I think I know the first 7 years of your life, your subconscious mind is being hardwired to a particular identity, and that is based on everything that you've heard. And then I feel like the rest of our years, if we, after that, it becomes this filter, and then it's basically your brain, because of the reticular activating system, looks for evidence to confirm this belief, right? So basically your life becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Same things keep happening, patterns keep repeating, because your brain is looking for that, because that's the way that your brain works. It's a way to filter out all this incoming stimuli, because we have so much information coming at us, and the only way to stay sane and process is to have a filter. So that serves as the filter to process. And so we have this, self-fulfilling prophecy, this our life becomes this reflection of this filter, and really the only way to change it is to become aware of it and start rewriting a story, start changing your story. I talk a lot about this in my masterclass, Fuck the Fear, that's on my website, KarenGalway.com. If you go to it, and click on it, I talk a lot about how your subconscious mind works. But one of the things that contributes to this identity for the first 7 years of life is what you gave acceptance to. What did you take in? And we're all going to have it. We're all going to have it. And I'm learning about, even in rapid resolution therapy, my training that I'm taking, which is amazing, by the way, and I can't wait to talk more about it. But we have the way that our mind processes information. Sometimes the data that comes through gets stuck in that mind, in the mind, in the tube that gets from one end to the next. Like, information is always processing, our mind is always processing information, rather. And if it's like benign stuff like getting a shower and recalling on what shampoo you use, like recalling on that data, you can recall on it easily because it's made its way through the whole processor, right? It's made its way through the mind. It's now stored somewhere in your mind, in your brain. Unless there's like a big event that happened and then that kind of gets stuck and it doesn't get fully processed. So there could have been someone, like a teacher, saying that you suck at writing or whatever, right? And I'm sure a teacher would not say that, or maybe they would, I don't know. And that becomes this like glob that gets stuck in the processor. And then that is something you gave acceptance to. So that becomes part of your filter. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I can never write anything because I suck at writing, right? Like, and we've all had experiences like that where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that because I'm no good at this because of what someone said to us. It's what we gave acceptance to. And like I said, we all have these experiences. It's normal. It's part of being a child. We can't live in a bubble. We can't control every single thing. And then when we get to a point in our life when we've made that choice to rewire our subconscious mind to make our life better, to improve, to expand, to evolve, we then look at what are we giving acceptance to. And so you can, at this point, listening to this podcast, going forward, tell yourself, I'm only going to give acceptance to things that I choose to give acceptance to. And so I want to drive this home to my son because I know that in this lifetime, he has a really big role in this lifetime. And he actually has some energy healing yesterday, and it was like a lot of heaviness that was on him. So I want him to be able to protect his mind and protect his energy. But when someone says something to you, and this is really, really important, and I think I want this to be one of the main points that you take away. When someone says something to you, someone judges you. So let's say you are scared to do whatever that you really want to do, but you're afraid to be judged. You're afraid of what other people are going to say. You're afraid of they're going to see that you're a fraud. They're going to, call out whatever your weaknesses are or whatever. When someone says something about you, that you've learned nothing about yourself through that comment. You learn absolutely nothing. There is nothing that you've learned. If they said that you suck at that, you did not, there is nothing that you learned about yourself, but you've learned so much about that person. You learn so much about their triggers. You learn so much about maybe how they value themselves and their worth, and nothing about yourself. And so when someone is saying something and they're judging you, if you're feeling afraid that you're going to be judged, or if someone does judge you, we're going to be judged anyways. And this is the whole point. Like, we're going to be judged anyways, whether we go after what we want or we go after what we don't want, we're going to be judged. And so it's up to you to what path are you going to take? What are you going to give acceptance to? If someone says something to you, if it's like negative, are you going to accept that? And the third thing is that you learn nothing about yourself in that comment. It's like, it's nothing. It's just everything. It's a reflection of them. And so one of the things that I have done to help with this is to kind of like reset things. I've done so much. And this certainly is not going to cover it all. And it won't even like do a lot of the clearing of the subconscious mind, but it's a start and it's easy to do. Is I ask for my guardian angel. I have a guardian angel on my left side. So it's a female energy. It sits on my left side. I feel it whenever I call her presence in. Or I, recently learned about my core healing team. So I'll call my guardian angel and my core healing team. And even maybe I'll pull in some archangels like Archangel Michael to remove energies that are not mine, to remove what does not belong to me, and only keep what is mine and what's serving my highest good. Or I might do some cord cutting where I, literally will take my hand and move it up and down my body to like remove any cords, and I set the intention of removing the cords. Or if it's like a cord to a specific person, like if someone said something to me, and it just did not feel good, and it's like hanging on, I might do a cord cutting where I literally will visualize me and that person, and I'll see the cord between us. And then I will ask the cord, like I'll cut the cord, I visualize the other person cutting the cord, and I see that cord fall down to the ground and disintegrate into like a white energy. And then that white energy will move into like light, like go up to source. And if this is something that visualization is hard for you, you can also do just by feeling, just kind of like telling yourself and feel into it. The reason why cord cutting is important and it is effective is that there's this concept called quantum entanglement. If you read anything by Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about this. So basically, when you meet someone, you're kind of like from a quantum perspective, you are always connected. So you're able to think about that person. You're able to pull in, tap into their energy. And some people are like, they're, even if it's not any fault of theirs, but you know, we want to make sure that our energy is our energy and not anyone else's. But that's a completely different episode on cord cutting, which I think I need to record that as well. But essentially, I just want you to walk away from this episode that you have so much control over what you believe to be true about yourself. And so many of us are walking around with lies that are in our head that are echoing. These lies are echoes from what other people have said. Things from our childhood, things from like maybe something from a couple weeks ago. And what I want you to start doing is someone says something to just be like, I don't accept that. I don't receive that. And it's a way to intentionally block that energy, that comment from coming into you, from coming into like your subconscious mind. And so I think it's really important for children to learn about this when they're growing up, knowing that they have control over that. And then also, again, knowing that these comments tell you nothing about you. Like when a teacher says that you suck at writing, like I've never had that experience for myself, but I've had other things I just can't recall right now. This is the only thing that's coming to my mind. But if someone said that you suck at writing and you're like, oh yeah, I do. Well, says who? Says this person who has their filter, who has their story, who for whatever reason your writing didn't meet their standards based on their own insecurities, their own expectations, you know, like who says who? It tells you nothing about you, but it tells you so much about that other person. And I think that's what's important to realize is that we're all walking around with this filter. We're all walking around with some sort of perception of ourselves that most likely is based on things that are not true. And we need to start being clear and clearing what does not belong to us. And that starts with what we are going to give acceptance to. All right, this was a short podcast. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you on the next episode.